Down here at the NMAX Center, I'm joined by the Rebels play-by-play man, Cam Moon. Cam, let's look. Earlier this week, we talked about the Rebels and how the team's going to break down. Let's talk about the league and kind of who's shaping up to be the favorites. Let's start out east with the Red Deer Rebels. I see this as a top 4 team in the East, but who are the other teams that are going to be joining the Rebels?
Well, and I think it's going to be interesting, and our preseason predictions, a lot of times they're pretty close. Sometimes they're way off base. I mean, who knows? I think the Edmonton Oil Kings are going to make another step in their organization. They got a lot of players back from last year. Michael St. Croix up front looked really good. Mark Pesic will be back as a 19-year-old this season. Travis Owanek, very much in-your-face kind of guy. Keegan Lowe on the back end. And there's a lot of strength with that team. And the lessons that they learned last year in that first-round loss to the Red Deer Rebels will probably pay some dividends. So I think the Oil Kings are a team that is going to be on the rise. The Moose Jaw Warriors, to me, look like they've got a lot of strength. They have a question. Make sure their goaltending is good. Thomas Heemskirk was a 20-year-old last year, was a big part of the Moose Jaw Warriors' success. They need to replace him. So, I mean, that's up in the air, but still, looking on paper, there's a lot of skill coming back with that team. I think the Brandon Wheat Kings are going to be pretty good again. I mean, they weren't off the map for very long. I mean, they were still a pretty good club last year, but they've been at the top for a long time now. I think they'll be pretty solid. Saskatoon will take, I think, a little bit of a step back, but not a lot. Okay. He's still going to be a pretty good team. They'll be right in the mix. Medicine Hat will be competitive again. I don't know they'll be quite as strong as last season, but I think they'll be decent.
And Kootenay, Kootenay was the surprise team from the playoffs last year. We knew they were good. I didn't think they were that good. Do they take a step back as well? Because in theory, I think they have to.
Well, you would think. We've said that about that team for many different years. It'll depend whether, if Nathan Lewin comes back as a 20-year-old. I know he just got drafted this year, but does he get signed? Does he stick in pro hockey? That remains to be seen. If he comes back, it helps him a ton. But they had some older players that are going to move on that were big contributors for them. Will they be able to replace that? Well, they usually do. So I expect them to win the Western Hockey League? I don't. But I don't expect them to be at the bottom of it either. They always find a way. And it's been good coaching there, good scouting. They've done a very good job.
And our neighbors to the south, the Calgary Hitmen, I mean, they were so good for so many years. Last year, they really took a step back. They should be better this year.
I would give them, they'll be improved, I think. I don't think they're going to make a quantum leap. I don't think they're going to go up to the top. They might be, I would expect around the edge, maybe a playoff position. I don't expect them to be in the top 4. But they will improve. They were at the top for a long time. I mean, eventually you got to take a bit of a dip.
Sure. So let's go out west now. Last year, it seemed to be the American teams were kind of the prominent teams, Tri-City and Portland. Do those teams stay near the top of the West?
Well, Portland Winterhawks sure do. I mean, they've got question marks, too, as to which guys come back. Nino Niederreiter is a New York Islander draft pick. Started last year even, played some NHL games. If they get him back, that helps a ton. Ryan Johansson's a first-round pick of the Columbus Blue Jackets. If they get him back, that helps a lot, too. But he's a 19-year-old. He can't play in the minors. He's either got to play in Columbus or he plays in Portland. But even still, they had 15 guys at NHL training camps this year. I mean, that's a lot. And that's because they've done a great job of developing their players, bringing in really good players. But I expect them to be near the top. I mean, Tri-City's still going to be a pretty good team. You'd expect Kamloops to make a bit of a step. They had a tough year last year. I think they'll get a little bit better. Kelowna should be a pretty strong club. They have been for a long time. There hasn't been a lot of wavering in that program. But, I mean, odds-on favorites got to be the Portland Winterhawks.
And what about, some of you may know, I'm from Prince George. The Cougars never seem to, will they have a better team this year, or is it going to be they're kind of always at the bottom?
Well, I think they'll be a better team. I mean, they've added some players. We'll see what happens with Brett Connolly. I mean, 19-year-old guy, but first-round pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, if he comes back, that helps them tremendously. I mean, he's a world-class player, world junior guy that, you know that he brings a lot to the party. So if they get him back, they're going to be right into the mix of things. I'm sure they will. If they don't, I mean, it hurts quite a bit because he's such an impact. But I guess we'll find out. I mean, he's probably got a pretty good shot of playing in the National Hockey League. We're seeing more and more 19-year-olds move on a little bit quicker than we used to, say, 10 years ago. But yeah, I think the Cougars, they'll be okay.
All right, one last question. Let's go back east. Let's go back to the Centrium. Let's go back to the Rebels. I said they're a top 4 team. Can the Rebels win this year?
Sure they can. Yeah, absolutely they can. If they get 9 back, I mean, I think they get a really good chance, a really good chance of at least, having first round home ice advantage, and then from there, who knows? I mean, we saw it last year with the Kootenay ice. I mean, who knows? The ice got hot at the right time, and they deserved it. Absolutely deserved their Western League championship. So I think the Rebels would have the potential, with the amount of guys back, solid blue line, that they would have a shot at it.